So it seems National is a bunch of law and order policies. It must be election year.
I can smell the uranium on it as you lean towards me.
Okay, Boomer.
We have the most enormous big gay rainbow across my electorate.
They're not going to win an election.
Let's keep moving!
So it's election year, and it's time to talk about the policies that are coming out from National. So National, they're in the opposition, they're the right-wing party in New Zealand, and they're trying to, show that they could be the next government. And, the polls are showing that they could easily govern. So let's see what National wants to do when they govern. Well, they want to target crime. Crime is slightly on the rise in New Zealand. It's an issue that people are talking about with your ram raiders and things like that, right? And the way to counteract crime, according to National, is to target the gangs. Recently, there was a bit of commotion with gangs or the news. It is always a serious problem in New Zealand to discuss gang violence and how that affects New Zealand and organised crime and things like that. But that's a separate discussion to right now. What we're talking about is how do we curb them? How do we stop the gangs? And National has this policy. Let's read it here. National is proposing tougher sentences for gang members by adding gang membership as an aggravating factor in the Sentencing Act. So what does that mean? When someone is sentenced in New Zealand for a crime, there's many different factors that a judge needs to consider when sentencing them, decide how long they should be punished, what they should be punished for, all that, right? And National believes that being a member of a gang should be a factor that they consider. That sounds fair enough. Oh wait, that's already in the bloody law. That's already in the law. Look at the act, All the other parties were like, dude, just read the law. It's right there. Look at it. It's in the act. The ACT Party, the Green Party, the Labour Party, they've been clowning on National for this. It seems like they're proposing laws that are already on the books, right? They're trying to just pretend like they're tough on gangs, but no, they want to toughen what's actually in the law. So let's see what Simeon Brown, a prominent member of the National Party, said on Twitter about what the policy actually is. The point of our policy is to make gang membership an aggravated factor in all cases when a gang member commits a crime. Now, what does that mean? It means that a judge needs to take into account 100% of the time when any case is brought to them if the person is a gang member. So, you might think, when a person commits a crime, which is gang related, selling drugs, robbing someone, any violence, anything like that, sure, it makes sense. No, this is all crimes, regardless of it has to do with them being a gang member. So, for example, drunk driving, right? If a person is pulled over drunk driving, they're arrested and they're charged and they're sentenced if they are a gang member. Even though that has nothing to do with the fact that they're drunk driving, it needs to be taken into account and they need to get a heavier sentence than a non-gang member for doing the same crime, okay? Now let's be real, both of them are crimes, but it should be worse if you're a member of a gang, but let's be real, being in a gang is not a crime. We have freedom of association in this country, okay? Now, if you're committing crimes, all that's bad, sentence them, try them, all that stuff, right? But being in a gang is not a crime. We talk about whether gangs are criminal organizations, things like that. If they were, it would be illegal to be in them. It would be illegal to wear their patches, all that. Oh wait, National wants to make it illegal to wear a gang patch in all circumstances. Why is the mongrel mob a gang, but the National Party isn't? Why is some associations a gang and some associations aren't? Is it because some of the members are violent criminals? Well, look at the National Party. It's just so silly, and it's dog whistling. It's more anti-Maori rhetoric that the National Party, butters their bread on, right? That's their bread and butter. They love that shit. Be it scrapping Maori DHBs, be it scrapping bilingual signs that's just been announced recently, be it getting rid of the Maori seats. That's ridiculous. Every second policy they have is just anti-Maori. And you could say, oh, we want to be equal in New Zealand, whatever. It's hard to say that when every single policy that you seem to be passing is just Maori shit. You want to get rid of the three waters. I don't know. The list goes on anti-Maori policy that the National Party has. This is why they don't do well with Maori in New Zealand. This is why barely any of them vote for them. This is why they don't run people in the Maori electorates. And this is why they only have a handful of Maori MPs. They're becoming more and more the party of angry white people. It's ridiculous, You could be conservative and not be a dick to Maori, right? You can understand that Maori have worse health outcomes in New Zealand, they're more represented in poverty in New Zealand, and we can address that. You know, I'm not a big Labour fanboy, but National is strictly becoming more and more an anti-Maori party. It's becoming the Don Brash party of 2005, like it used to be, with the Orewa speech and the Kiwi no iwi. This is what they used to be before John Key came. They kind of liberalised the party and were like, yeah, you know, we're not the party of racists, we're just the party of tax cuts and fucking over poor people. But like, that's better than being the party of racists, don't get me wrong. I wish the National Party was more about just tax cuts and increasing GST on poor people and selling our assets. Everyone really thought that Luxon was going to be the second coming of John Key, but he seems to be the second coming of Don Brash, and it's ridiculous. Like, whatever you believe, things like Mara DHBs, or recently Auckland Hospital just announced that they have a new policy that like Māori will be considered more for surgeries over like white patients and stuff. That's a whole can of worms I don't want to get into now. I vaguely support it, but it is a whole thing. But let's be real. Scrapping those things without a meaningful replacement will just negatively impact Māori. Okay, that is their plan. Like what is their middle ground here? Like, they just want to say, oh, we're all equal, hands off, you know? Because let's keep it real. Māori are overrepresented in poverty, overrepresented in prison, underrepresented in education. Like, it goes on and on. Okay, Māori are completely disadvantaged in this country. It's from intentional bias, it's from these racist policies, because they don't intend to make anything better. They don't want to give any helping hand to Māori in this country. All they want to do is keep them under their boot and say, hey, fucking work harder. There's not a way to make minority groups better in this country. There's not a way to create and harvest equality. It's just ridiculous.